Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Pollock, and I'm the Customer Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Decoding Sage 100 Manufacturing, Work Order versus Production Management versus Operations Management, presented by Anthony Ross. Before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, throughout the webinar, you can submit any questions you have. If you'd like to submit a question, look for the questions section in your GoToWebinar, and we'll answer all those questions at the end of the presentation. In your GoToWebinar panel, you also have the option to zoom into the presentation, ask those questions we just talked about, and download a copy of the presentation. We'll also be sending a recording of this webinar to all attendees and those who registered but were unable to attend tomorrow afternoon. And finally, we'd appreciate your participation in our polls and closing survey. With that said, we're thrilled that you've taken some time out of your busy day to be with us on this session. SWK is here to help you fulfill your vision of a smarter and easier way to run your business by providing you with tools, support, software, and industry knowledge whenever you need it. So whether you're here to explore new modules in Sage 100, or you're just here to learn more about your Sage 100 system, don't hesitate to ask any questions you have while the experts are present. And as a final quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels. Check us out and give us a follow on Twitter/X, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube so you don't miss out. Okay, that's enough for me. I'm going to hand it over to Anthony.
Thank you very much. Yes, today we're going over navigating Sage 100 manufacturing options, of which there are what I would consider to be two main options and one obsolete option. Also, we are going to hit on briefly discussing the work order module, which some customers that have had Sage a long time may recognize. Work order is the older version of Sage's manufacturing option. It's been around since almost the inception of Sage and was recently upgraded into a modern module called production management. Production management actually began as an enhancement around 2019 Sage, but now is offered as a converted version of work order from your newer versions. Beyond that, you have operations management. Operations management is formerly known as job ops, which is now being taken over by a company called Scanco and is considered an enhancement. Before we get started, you're going to hear me mention a lot about the bill of materials module today in this presentation. So what is bill of materials? And to show you that, I'm going to hop into Sage. The bill of materials module in Sage 100 basically houses a list of components for a parent item or bill. In work order, bill of materials would be used to combine the list of all the components you would use for that parent item. In production management, you would be able to use bill of materials for this purpose as well. You can also use bill of materials in operations management for exploding your items. Beyond that, bill of materials allows something called options. Right here for the option categories. And within each option, you can have a sub-option or an option code as well. The option code can have a description and a specific list of components associated with it. So in my example here, we have two option codes for a quote-unquote processor, and each of those options can have, a list of components associated. Now, bill of materials itself can be used as a production type module, but it isn't a true manufacturing module. And that is why Sage originally offered work order and now production management. As you can see, you do have an option for production entry, in bill of materials, and you also have an option for disassembly entry. Uh, Production entry is basically you enter the amount of a parent item you are going to produce. You can add your option codes in here if you want. Uh, it basically scales out the components to however many you need, and then it consumes the components and puts the parent item into inventory. The disassembly entry does the exact opposite. It brings back the components and removes a parent item. So, having briefly discussed bill of materials, what is or was work order? Work order allowed users to issue work orders, develop schedules, track costs associated with the manufacturing process. It is used in conjunction with bill of materials, where the material required to produce the product can be automatically merged from the appropriate bill. Open one up here. So in work order entry, you have your work ticket number. You put the bill in here. Any revisions as well. The quantity you're going to create. It defaults in the routing number, the issue method, and all that information from what's called a work order routing. The routing is actually assigned to bill of materials you created in work order, but you assign it in bill of materials. From here, you can release the order, print the order, issue transactions against it, and finally complete it. It does also allow options such as operations entry. So you can have, a list of employees at specific costs and record those costs based on the pay rates. Something called forward and backwards scheduling. And work center capacity and availability, and employee and labor crews, which are basically a way to set a group of employees and their labor costs in combination. And then, of course, you can also print your work tickets and your travelers. But that's work ticket. I just really wanted to briefly, kind of show some of this and see the screen so you have a bit of a comparison point. Some of the grids and presentation is outdated and a little bit cumbersome as well to enter data in. It doesn't have the look or functionality of modern Sage 100 grids. So let's move on to production management. Let me cancel this one. So production management, it offers all the current functionality and features of work order. In production management, like work order before it, it is a make to stock type of production, meaning when the item is completed, it goes directly to inventory. I'm going to head right into it now and kind of show you some of this. Let me get out of this version. I have to open up a new version. Open up a entry. So as you can see here, the screens have been modernized and all the grids have been, modernized as well. Much easier to enter data and have nice clean lines and tab through. In addition, there are some new features to production management, like work ticket classes. Work ticket classes are holding categories specifically for allowing default options for issuing method, accounting, user-defined fields, and overhead. Specifically, you can have different ways to issue your labor and materials. I'll just open work ticket classes here. So for labor and materials, you have 3 issue methods. You have manual, where you consume the components manually as you see fit. You basically enter a manual material issue. Auto issue, which is when you release the work ticket, it will issue the goods automatically. It'll do a material issue for all the goods for the entire work ticket. Same with labor, if you have labor selected as this method. And backflush is one of the more commonly used methods. It allows you to complete or partially complete a parent item, and then once you put that completion in, it will scale the automatic usage of your components when you enter that completion entry. So for example, if you're producing, 5 parent items, using the backflush method will allow you to complete 3 of those, and then it'll automatically create and scale the components and labor associated with those 3 completions. Later, when you need to complete the other 2, it would also scale those appropriately. Also new to PM is a cost completion method. Um, you have actual, that is not new. That is the same as it was in work order, where you complete the actual cost, the total cost of your material components and your labor. Budget, which is the budgeted version of that, rather than the actual. The lower of budget actual. Those were all in work order, but the new option is standard. You can actually complete your work tickets to standard cost. Um, this is useful for standard cost valuation finished goods, or goods you run the cost roll-up register for, which is basically a roll-up register that calculates a new standard cost based on the bill of materials and the template. And the difference gets sent to a variance. You can also have class-specific user-defined info, and you can create different classes to have different user-defined info. Same with accounts. If you have different, work in process accounts or scrap accounts, you need more than one distinction for, you can set those as well. And of course, class-specific overhead. Production management also has enhanced labor and time entry. While you can always backflush your labor, you now have a method for advanced manual entry. There's actually a punch in, punch out functionality. So I'm going to open up this up here. So any employee can punch in at a specific time, or a labor crew as well. You set your start time, and then you start a labor entry under the employee. You can set the work ticket they actually work on, the step they actually worked on, if it's a specific step. Start time and end time, And then you can also enter the quantity complete as well. Then in the day, you put your end time in the punch out, and that's it. I hit cancel here. Another new feature is the option to quick release work tickets through a status change. In work order, you would enter a transaction entry to release the work ticket. So with that in mind, it now would be a good time to give you an example of processing a work order start to finish. Excuse me, a work ticket. I'm using the old terminology. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a new work ticket number here. I'm going to use my production item. Okay. Same as work order, the template fills in. You get a few more options down here. You can actually set default warehouses if you have different users in different that produce the items in different warehouses or a different parent warehouse, what have you. I'll go ahead and make 5 of this item. Here is your issue method. Again, it defaults from the work ticket class. I'm going to switch it to backflush though, just for ease of use. Let's pop over to the steps tab. The steps, because you have a template set up, automatically fill in. The budget as well fills in, and the work center. You can actually add additional steps as you go as well, manually. So if you had to add a step for outside processing, or just for this particular work ticket, you can do that. The materials also automatically fill in and they scale to the amount produced on the header. You can actually see on the step number associated too. So each component can have their own step number if necessary. The inquiry tab basically lists status changes or materials or labor associated with that particular work ticket. Direct cost, you can have direct costs from AP. Purchase orders, you can actually produce a purchase order directly. Once I release the work ticket, there will be a button that lights up here. You can create a work ticket, or excuse me, a purchase order directly from work ticket entry. And of course, completions. Scheduling, production management has its own version of scheduling. It also has work orders version of scheduling. The work order version is considered enhanced scheduling and is available as of Sage version 2023, where it has the forwards and backwards scheduling. So the backward scheduling is obviously you do a production due date, and then it'll calculate, when you should, start, and then obviously when it's due. And the forward is the opposite. You calculate when you want to start, and you'll say when it's going to be due. Okay. So I'm going to click accept on this here. It'll go to the totals tab. You can see a nice little budget associated with it. I'm going to go ahead and hit accept one last time. Now I'm going to bring it back up to show you the quick release work ticket. Again, it's now just a little drop down. You release it. You actually have the option to auto print forms once the work ticket has been released. You can auto print your work ticket form or your picking sheet. As you can see, I have the picking sheet turned on. So I'll go ahead and do that. Let's hit preview. Give you an example of a work ticket pick sheet. The forms have been, completely updated. Some of the text on the old work order forms is a little jagged and not that nice to look at sometimes. So now it's a bit updated. So this work order has been released. Since I set the method for completion to backflush, I'm going to go ahead and enter a work ticket transaction entry. Okay, set your date and move on. What's nice about the work ticket completion transaction entry is you can enter multiple work tickets per work ticket entry transaction number. So you can just go down a list if, I'm completing X, Y, and Z today, all in one entry. So I'm going to go ahead and select my work ticket here. What's also nice is you can automatically scrap a line item, or excuse me, the production item. And then you can put the amount you're going to produce as well. And in this situation, it will use the components associated with one of the production items, but it will actually complete three of the production item on this. It will do the same, or it'll do both those transactions on the same entry. And of course, that gets posted to the scrap account. So I'm going to go ahead and post this here. Go ahead and preview it so you can see what it's going to do. Now, as you know, since it was a backflush, it automatically created a labor register for this transaction. For two, you might be wondering why there's two of these. One of them is going to be the scrap one. The other one is going to be the actual completion. Make that a little wider. There's also the material issue, and then of course the completion register as well. You can see which one was scrapped. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and update it. And you can print some of the reports associated at this point, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to do the daily right now. Let's pop back into the work ticket. There you go. We had originally ordered 5. We've scrapped one of those. We've completed 4. And therefore, you still have a few more to enter and finish. You can over complete if you need to. That is a role security change. Just in case, you need to get that 5 no matter what. You can go ahead and complete 6 or 7 or however many you need. All right. The materials fill in then on the issued as well. And you can also look at your totals tab as well. Get a good idea of the per unit cost. Okay. So that's just a brief review of production management. It does get more in depth if you need it. Now, I was talking about the changes from, production management and work order. Mostly it's terminology based as well. I did, in addition to the actual functionality changes. So for example, the work order term is now a work ticket. What was called firm planned in the status of the work order is now called open. Routings are now called templates. Operations codes are activities. Standard cost is material budget cost. Miscellaneous code is user-defined information code. And a traveler is a printed work ticket. Now let's talk about operations management. It is a secondary manufacturing option. The original name of the solution was Job Ops, and then the name changed again to Sage 100 Manufacturing, and finally, most recently, the name has changed again to Operations Management. What is different in operations management versus production management? First of all, excuse me, operations management starts within Sage's sales order module. And from there, you assign and create the work tickets. Also, Operations management allows both make to stock and make to order capability, whereas production management only has make to stock capability. The make to order capability allows you to define the finished good at the sales order level and move through and complete the manufacturing process without the finished good ever hitting inventory. It will instead be shipped out automatically at the end of the invoicing process. It also allows partial billing and deferred revenue for customer invoicing while manufacturing the parent item. Partial billing allows you to process multiple invoices for a work ticket. There are some cost recognition options for that as well. Deferred revenue allows you to process multiple invoices for the work ticket and defer the sales and cost recognition until the work ticket is moved into history. You do your final invoice closed. The amounts are posted in separate deferred revenue account until that final completion invoice. In addition to the base level of operations management, there are some enhancements available to the module, including the product configurator, which allows you to create enhanced configurations to your bills by adding features, rules, specific pricing, based on whatever customizations a customer may select. Enhanced scheduling, which is basically a advanced reporting option. You get some extra reports and information and a graphical scheduling control hub to keep track of gaps in your scheduling process. And also field service, which allows a service and dispatch board as well as maintenance and billing for service agreements. Now, we're going to stick to the base model of operations management just for this session, but it's good to know there are avenues of growth available in your manufacturing process. And finally, there's a tool called Component Exception Manager, which we're going to see shortly. Okay. Let me get out of this version, go back to the other version. All right, as mentioned before, production management starts within its own module. Operations management starts within sales order entry. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new work ticket. So you'd start just the way you were going to start a regular sales order. Now, it's important to note for the classes, let me bring up the classes. You can have multiple classes, just like, production management. However, there's a lot more, options and features for these classes. One of the most important options is it basically differentiates the make to order from the make to stock. A make to stock class will have this box checked, so you know that's a make to stock type class. So from there, you can go ahead and create a sales order for make to stock. What you would put in the customer is usually a self customer. Basically, put your business as a customer, and then you can just run the completion of the make to stock as necessary. Once you're done, there's a make to stock closing entry. But since this is a more make to order friendly system, we're going to go through a make to order type of situation here. As you can see here from the options, here are the partial invoicing revenue options available. And there's also some other options very similar to production management, accounting, user-defined info, overhead, and the like. Okay. So I think I will make a custom system. So that's going to be one thing that's different from a normal sales order entry. Then you come over to the lines and you can select a system. I think I do this one. Yeah. Put in the amount you're going to create. And now you're going to enter this little checkbox to create a work ticket. Once you tab off the line, you get an option, as long as you have a work ticket template, to create the work ticket from your item template. I'm going to hit yes to edit the work ticket. Okay. So what defaults in are dependent on the work ticket template. You have default activities, your steps, and any other information associated with it, like the user defined info. Now let's pop over. It looks like step 10 is the material step. The labor tab can show you the labor that's created for that particular work ticket, and you have a bunch of labor entry options as well. Direct cost shows direct costs, for example, from AP. Status allows you to see the status changes. And you can actually put holds on particular work ticket steps to, prevent users from doing anything in the next step if you want to. The summary is just a nice little summary. You could see the work ticket, overall work ticket summary, or the step summary in here. And then the profit analysis is nice, and it flows in revenue if there's revenue associated with it. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to run through and use a few parts. Okay. That should be sufficient. And hit accept. And then once you X out of the work ticket, now you can come see that work ticket anytime you want via work ticket edit. It fills in the sales order number up here as the work ticket number, and it throws a work ticket number associated with the line key of the particular sales order. So let's pop out, and you go back to sales order entry. And now you can see you have a bunch more, line items now. You don't necessarily have to see those if you don't want to. There's the hide work ticket components button here. You hit this little eyeball, and you can actually hide them on your sales order form as well that you ship out to the customers. So I'm going to go ahead and accept. Now we're just going to do a brief invoicing option. You select your sales order number. And again, if this was a deferred revenue, a partial revenue, actually this is a partial revenue, but you can make several invoices associated with it before you do your final, because once you come to the lines tab, you're going to get this box now. You can select which work tickets you want to bill complete. And what bill complete means, if you hit yes, it's going to complete the entire work ticket. If you hit no, this will allow you to actually send your invoice out to the customer and then finish up anything on the back end that you need to prior to, add labor, add material usage, what have you, prior to, closing the entire work ticket. And then skip just skips, that particular work ticket. So it won't actually ship that. I'm just going to hit No for now. Hit OK. All right. So you can put in the amount you're going to ship. You have to add, well, this is a serial-based one, so I'm just going to add a serial number here. And that's about it. You hit accept, you can post, and that will, do your partial billing option. Later, you can invoice complete once you're done with the work ticket. And that's about it. You can see some updated, revenue and information associated on the work ticket tab or the work ticket history inquiry, and get all the necessary reports out that you need. Okay, so that's just a really brief example of processing a production order through operations management. Now we're going to take a really quick look here at the component exception manager, as I mentioned. It's a really nice tool for operations management to allow work ticket component planning. So you can plan by work ticket, you can plan by inventory item, whichever one you choose allows the selections here. I actually have a selection. Let me clear it real quick. Okay. So I'm going to plan by inventory item. I'm going to leave it wide off, but you can enter dates as well. Yes. And then it'll go through all your inventory items. And within your inventory items, you're going to have what is called, buy to stock, make to order, buy to order. If it's a buy item, it's going to be here under purchased items. If it's a make item, it's going to be here under manufactured items. So basically what it does is it kind of goes out, calculates work ticket demand, calculates the amount on PO, sales order, in stock, any MRP additional demand, and gives you, the amount you should probably purchase, and it'll default in the vendor here. And if there isn't a primary vendor, you can select one if you would like. From there, it will automatically create your purchase orders for you. Now, these are, you can either hold them if you would like, change the amount to buy, up it if you want. And then once you click create POs, it will create those purchase orders. Similar to that, the manufactured ones, these are, your bill items. They're your make to order, make to stock type items. Shows a quantity on hand and actual quantity to make, required. You can put holds on these as well, and it will create the work ticket for you. Yeah. So that's just, again, a really brief look at Component Exception Manager. Now, finally today, we are going to look at some comparison points to consider in choosing one of these modules. Production management is only make to stock, but it does that very well. If you're only looking for a make to stock type of solution, PM is a great choice. Meanwhile, if you have a need for a make to order type of solution, operations management is the way to go. And also keep in mind, you do get make to stock functionality there. If you have consistent production process for your finished goods, production management does this well. But if you're customizing your production finished goods, operations management allows more options and ease of entry. And finally, if you're just looking for an easy to use tool to track your manufacturing process, production management can have less steps and quicker entry. On the other hand, operations management has a deeper, production process and options. And you can also keep in mind the enhancement features for operations management in case you have a specialized business like providing, installation or repair work. And that's it. That's my presentation on decoding the Sage manufacturing process. Courtney, I will throw it back to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Anthony, for putting on a really great presentation today and really diving into the differences between all of those modules. We want to thank everyone out there in the audience for taking some time out of their busy day to be with us on this session. If you have any questions about those different modules, whether it be work order, production management, or the additional capabilities offered by operations management, let us know in the post webinar survey. Reach out to your SWK rep or reach out to us at info@swktech.com, and we would be happy to dive deeper into your specific needs and help you get to the bottom of which module is right for you and your business needs. So thank you all, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.